This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, super practical.
I'm not telling people to have a mistress. I'm teaching you, learn the lesson from the people who have a mistress, because there's many business lessons that apply.
Pious.
There's a part in the book of Revelation where Jesus says, I want you either hot or cold. I'm spewing lukewarm churches out. And I think it's a good way to look at your list.
Romantic to his very core.
Once in a while, I'll give my girl a present, like a Snickers bar or something.
And totes tender.
If someone asks you to walk on eggshells, smash the eggshells and let the chips fall wherever they may.
Adored by feminists everywhere.
It takes a strong woman to admit when she's wrong.
Not a judgmental bone in his entire body.
I look at all the free information people give just on Facebook and I go, what a bunch of time hose.
Has a PhD in armchair philosophy.
In the land of dumbasses, the smartass is king.
You'll never meet a more sensitive guy.
If you really care about people, you shame the hell out of them. This is Ben Settle of the bensettle.com podcast. And the first thing I want to do is, if you listen to the last episode, you might have noticed that I kind of rush ended it and you did not hear Jonathan say anything. Usually he ends it out. I mean, that's just our ebb and flow. He shirked his duties on that because as I was talking to him, his phone went dead toward the end. So I seamlessly picked up the ball and rushed through it. And it probably sounds a little awkward as a result. One thing we can lay this on the feet of Jonathan, producer Jonathan.
Yes.
It's not my mistake. At least I don't make a lot of mistakes, and it certainly wasn't that time. If I had, I still would have probably spun it in some way to make Jonathan responsible, and that's just the way it goes. But
I took it as a compliment. I took it you rushed to finish the show because you couldn't bear to be without me on it. But I see it's something else entirely.
Well, that's one way to make the skeleton dance. I'll give you that. But so on behalf of producer Jonathan, let me apologize for his rude departure and for not taking some of the profits he makes at the podcastfactory.com and investing in a better phone infrastructure. A landline. So, I say this, but I actually use voice over IP, so I'm just as much, at risk of this happening, but hopefully not today. So that said, Jonathan, do you have anything to say for yourself here? Or, before I move on, do you want to apologize or do you want to tell them that it's really their fault somehow?
Here's what I learned watching House of Cards. If I apologize, that means I'm guilty of something. So there's nothing to apologize for.
This is, you know what? This is a good point. Like Clinton, who would say, like Bill Clinton would go, mistakes were made. He's not really apologizing. He just says mistakes were made. I use that all the time to get out of trouble. Hey, mistakes were made. I admit it. Mistakes were made. It's not about pointing fingers, though. It's about fixing this thing.
That's right.
That's how you kind of excuse yourself from the whole thing. And if you can't learn from him, he's the man to learn from when it comes to this. So
Slick Willie.
All right. So, and literally, and that said, oh yeah, remember? I don't know if you remember this. You're a little younger than me, but when he got caught with the Monica Lewinsky thing, and then suddenly he bombs an aspirin factory or something, and some country no one's ever heard of.
Oh,
and
no.
He gets on TV and he basically blames all of us for daring, even making this an issue when there's more important things going on.
Nice.
But I look back and I just think of how devious that was and very clever on his part. I think it worked because certainly his Kool-Aid drinkers didn't mind, and so be it. Now he's getting nailed for all this, all of his past, though. Now that he's not useful anymore, you notice suddenly people are saying, yeah, he should have resigned, hardcore Democrats, even though back then they were pro him. Now suddenly he's he should have resigned. It's kind of funny. But that's politics, right? That's the way it works. And so be it. I don't want to talk about these politicians, though. They bore me. Let's talk about something more important than politics. And that is one of the things I bought. Okay, so several months ago, I bought, I don't know when it was, last year sometime, I had mentioned on one of these podcasts how I said, I really wish Gary Halbert's sons would sell all of his stuff, in one, back the truck up type of offer, right? Or at least all of his old newsletters. And I didn't know it at the time, but I forget who it was, listeners, one of my listeners to this show. And I just don't remember who it was. Said, actually, they do, Ben. And they gave me a link, and I don't know what the link is off the top of the head, and nobody needs to email me this because I'm not going to talk about it, on the air again. I mean, because whenever I say this, I'll get 18 emails, Jonathan, from people giving me the link.
Yeah.
That's not what the point is. I mean, it's out there. You can just Google it. You can find it. It's not a big deal. But somebody did give me the link and I said, oh, this is really cool. So I bought all of his back issues. It's like 2 giant volumes. It's awesome that they offer this. I highly recommend it, by the way. And, just Google it. All right. Maybe it's the GaryHalbertLetter.com/newsletters or something. I don't know. It could be that. Whatever it is, it's worth finding, or just emailing them and finding out, because it's really great. It's 2 giant binders. I mean, this is great. It's like candy store going through this stuff. And one of the issues he talks about, and I don't think this was ever on his site for free, that's why I think I got so excited by it, was how to get, it was about people's comfort zones. And he talked about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you know what that is, it's like everyone has like a hierarchy of needs. Like the first level, and Shane Hunter uses this in his advertising all the time, very brilliantly. And it starts with, survival stuff, right? Like the need for food and shelter and that sort of thing is like the first thing. That's your first needs. Obviously, because if you don't have those things, you're going to die. And then like the second level is like a bunch of other stuff, third level. And eventually you get to things like prestige and, reputation, having a good reputation, all that. But Gary Halbert's contention is what should be toward the top, like for survival, is the need for people to stay in their comfort zone. And I thought that was very interesting. I thought that was very, very interesting, because I never really thought of it that way before. And I know there's people listening to this who are much smarter than me, Jonathan, who probably did think about this. I say all the power to them. But for me, it was kind of like a little mini as I sat on the toilet reading this, Jonathan, it was a revelation
visual.
popped up. That's all I can tell you. Because it is my bathroom reading. All right. So now that may be a little too much information, but that's when I do my best reading. And so I got to thinking about that. Like he's right. Like that people need to stay in their comfort zone. Well, probably the main reason they don't buy from people is because they don't stay in their comfort zone. You're taking them out of their comfort zone. Like the first reason is they don't believe you, right? Or they don't need what you have. Obviously, if they don't want or need what you have, they're not going to buy from you. But a big part of this is you're asking them to leave their comfort zone to buy from you, whether it be financially or, things that we think are going to improve people's lives. There's something there that might be holding them back because you're taking them out of their comfort zone. The advertising could be taking them out of their comfort zone. And so that's another reason. That's one reason why people don't buy, because we're not taking them out of their comfort zone. So the question is, what is the answer for this? And the answer for this is the answer for everything, and that is daily communication. Jonathan, I know this is very surprising to you. Daily, and I'm not even going to say just daily email. I mean, obviously, to me, that is the number one way.
Yeah.
They get on your list. They start, they start getting getting out of their comfort zone a little bit every day when they hear from you, if you do it right. If you do it the way I teach in email players, you're going to be doing this automatically. And you'd be amazed if people be on your list they might buy the first day they get on your list. They may buy a year later or whatever, but you're just working on it constantly, that constant coming back. And so obviously daily email using the email players system that I teach, and the email players newsletter is, to me, my humble but biased opinion, is the best way to do this. I've been doing this for years. I can tell you there are people who I know I have elevated them out of their comfort zone because they've actually told me in not so many words. I didn't think I was ready for this, Ben, but your emails just kept telling, I believe I could do this. So now I'm doing it. Now they're mailing daily and making a bunch of sales. And they're like, why didn't I do this before? And it's not because they're dumb people or anything. It's just because I was taking them out of their comfort zone. And eventually, if they want to get better, their comfort zone will raise on its own. And if you're doing your job, and this could be selling anything. It doesn't have to be selling email marketing or anything. It could be weight loss or anything. It could be selling podcasts, doing podcasts, Jonathan. A lot of people don't do a podcast because it's out of their comfort zone. Oh, all these people are going to hear me. I don't like my voice and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you're there. You're there every day I'd say every day, but you admitted to not, you stopped mailing every day for a while, but you were there.
I was.
So be it.
Past tense.
So the question, one of the questions is, okay, Ben, daily email, whatever. Okay, fine. There's other ways to do daily communication to raise people out of their comfort zone so that they're ready and eager and willing to buy from you without having like a major life crisis and having to get the family together and talk about it and all that. One other way of doing daily communication, even though I don't like doing this myself, but I will not say there's no value to it, is daily communication on social media. There are guys like, for example, like Mike Cernovich, for example. I mean, he's on Twitter all the time. I'm telling you, this guy sells a lot of copies of his book, of his Guerrilla Mindset book and his other books. And he's gained a lot of influence like that. It's not my way of doing it. I'm an email guy. but it's a very valid, if you have that kind of time and you like using that media, why not? You can actually you could daily tweeting or whatever. It could be daily Facebooking, it could be daily Instagram, whatever it is. And you have a following, daily Snapchat, whatever. People will start to know, like, and trust you, and they'll feel a lot more comfortable buying from you. It won't be out of their comfort zone to buy from you, to take a chance, whatever it is you sell. And, I'm obviously, Jonathan, I know I poo-poo on social media a lot, but it's not like it doesn't work. To me, it's just pales in comparison to email, but so be it. Another thing people can do for daily communication to raise people out of their lowly little comfort zones is daily blogging. Once again, not really my thing, even though I do put my daily emails up on a blog, but there are some people who actually have a good blog following. They sell to people who tend to like blogs. There's someone, there's a lot of people in like the prepper niche and that. They tend to have pretty good blogs and blogs that people follow and like to come back to. Vox Day is another example. I mean, he's been building his publishing house using his blog. And he blogs every day and doesn't always blog about that every day, but he uses it for it. People come and go. He gets hundreds of comments on like the average blog post there, and it makes sales for him. So that's another way to do is blogging if you want to do blogging. I don't think it's as good as email. I don't see why people don't do both. If you're already writing emails or you're already writing blogs, why not do both while you're at it? But whatever. Same with social media, if that's an audience you want to go after. Another thing, Jonathan, would be YouTube. And, there are people who do very well making daily YouTube videos. They have an audience. There's email player subscribers out there that do this. They tell me, they go, I don't really use it for emails, but I use it for YouTube. Because everything I teach in email players can be applied to any of these medias. Social media, blogging, whatever. It doesn't really matter. YouTube, video, audio. It's all the same. It's just communication at the end of the day. But that's another one. Jonathan, you do a lot of YouTube, don't you?
I moved over to Facebook, but that's part of what I was using the email player's methodology, was telling stories on video, just putting it out to a different audience and getting different interaction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. You will reach people on YouTube you'll never reach in social media or through your blog or anything else. There's things you'll reach doing a blog. There's people you'll reach never being on YouTube and all that. So if you have the inclination, I just don't. I'm not that motivated, Jonathan, but if I was, I'd be doing all this stuff.
Yeah, but you're doing it on Snapchat. It's the same thing. It's just taking it and giving them a little different taste and then building off of that.
Yeah, a little taste. I like that. So, well, here's another thing you could be doing. And this is another thing people could be doing is, and people will laugh at this, right? I've had people even say, Ben, really, this isn't 2005 anymore. Whatever, it still works. And that is article marketing online. Absolutely. Daily article marketing. If you find a good article site that does that kind of directory, whatever they call them, article directory, if you find a good one that has a lot of built-in, people coming to it, readers and all that, it's great because every day, I mean, I used to do easingarticles.com specifically back. I don't do it anymore, but there was a time when that's how I got my business. That's how I started really building my list at one time. And I would write like 10 articles a day. But really, one article or 2 articles a day at the right time and all that, you're going to get traffic that's going to see your stuff. You're going to start building an audience. I remember on Easing, this is many years ago on easingarticles.com, I even had people like asking Easing Articles where to find my articles because I had just tapped into I was writing about copywriting all the time, and I tapped into something there. And if that daily communication is what does it. So that's another thing. And then there's other ways to do this, Jonathan. I'm gonna end it on this one last one, and I ended this on the last one for you to give you.
Oh, here we go with that again.
And that is a daily podcast.
No,
I'll tell you what. If I was more motivated, I would do a daily podcast, like a 5-minute podcast every day with a tip. My pal Ray Higdon, I think, does that, and he's got 100,000 or more downloads a month, or whatever it is. So daily podcasts can get the job done too.
Yeah.
If you like doing it, why not? Right? That's what I'm saying. And so my point is this: any of these daily ways of communicating will take people right out of their comfort zone so they become comfortable buying from you. Even you, Jonathan. This will even work for you.
It will.
As you found out.
Thank you. You know what I was just thinking about was with the dailies, I quit, then I started doing them again. And the weirdest thing happened. My open rates went up. My sales went up when I started my emails again. So I don't know, man. There might be something to this.
I'm very shocked.
I'm not sure.
I'm very shocked. Are you telling me that your sales went up when you started daily, when you left and then you came back, your sales went up? I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Daily emailing? No, it
you
doesn't
might, you
work.
might be onto something, Ben. That's all I'm trying to say here.
Once in a while.
Well, yeah, you hit a little diamond here and there. All right, so that's a wrap for another bensettle.com podcast. We'll be back in your earbuds next time. Thanks for tuning in.
And I'm going to add one thing to your ending there, Jonathan, because you just screwed it up again. You just did this again. You did it last week by hanging up on me, and this time you skipped me teasing the next episode. I'm telling you, man, is everything okay at home? Cupcake's not abusing you, is she?
No, everything's good at home.
Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tease so next week, we're going to talk about a number, the most dangerous number in business. If you're a Dan Kennedy fan, you already know what I'm talking about. But either way, this dangerous number costs people a lot of money, a lot of sales, and even their entire business if they don't understand the danger of it. And we will talk about that next week. Very important episode, I might say, and something that could literally save your business. So that's next week. Now, Jonathan, you can sign off. Now I will allow it.
So another Ben Settle show is in the can. Talk to you guys next time.
You've been listening to the bensettle.com podcast. To download yourself a free issue of Ben's prestigious $97 per month email players newsletter, which is going to show you 24 ways to write emails people eagerly read, click, and buy from, head on over to www.bensettle.com. Well, off you go. You know it makes sense.
This is the podcastfactory.com.